The St. Louis Cardinals dropped to 0-2 in spring training, but there have been a lot of positives to talk about so far, including the debut of top prospect J.J. Wetherholt.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I am your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio and the podcast at @LO_Cardinals. YouTube, of course, we're there. Like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. Also available on TikTok, Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. We're all over the place because this is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. So this past weekend, the Cardinals took the field against actual opponents for the first time, which is always nice. And despite not winning either game, which I'm not going to get worked up about, like win or lose, it's just, you want to pay attention to the little things that are going on. There were some positives. There are some negatives to talk about, so let's get to the good stuff first. I want to start with J.J. Wetherholt, who made his debut on Sunday, and boy, oh boy, did this young man make an impression. 7th overall pick in last year's draft, had a bloop single to center field in his second at bat, and then cranked the Cardinals' first home run of the spring in his third, a 3-run opposite field shot over the left field wall, which gave the Cardinals the lead at the time in the game. 0-1 fastball was the pitch that he hit. Traveled an estimated 345 feet and was an exit velo of 100.6. So it wasn't like this massive shot by any means, but hey, gets over the wall, And it just had a really good sound off the bat. The crack of the bat on that one, you could tell that he hit it pretty well. JJ spoke with the media afterwards saying that it felt better than my first hit for sure because that was a little blooper. I knew I hit it pretty well, but you never know at this stadium because the ball doesn't fly too well here. So I was just tracking and thinking this is either going out or it's getting caught. And I think he might be being a little bit modest, just a little bit modest there because the reaction that at least that I saw watching the game after he hit it seemed like a guy that knew he had gotten a hold of one. The home run also put a big smile on manager Ali Marmol's face, who reportedly plans to alternate the playing time at shortstop between Mason Wynn and Wetherholt over the next couple of weeks. So you're not going to see, back-to-back games for Mason Wynn. They're not trying to wear anybody out. They're just trying to get some work in. So that means good news because not only do we get to watch Mason Wynn play, but we're going to get to see a lot of J.J. Wetherholt while he's with the Major League camp for the next few weeks. Another positive from Sunday's game was the performance by pitcher Tekoah Roby. Very much impressed with what I saw on Sunday from Tekoah Roby, acquired along with Thomas J.C. and John King in exchange for Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton. And, hearing Brad Thompson talk about it during the telecast on Sunday, it was funny that he'd always say that Montgomery Stratton deal. And I'm like, it sounds like a law firm every time I hear him say it. And anyway, this trade, I know at the time people were like, who are these guys? Who is Tekoah Roby? Who is Thomas J.C.? Who's John King? None of us really knew who these guys were. And if Roby does what he did on Sunday, this is gonna be a pretty nice deal for the Cardinals in the end. He made his debut, 2 shutout innings, he struck out 3, no walks, no hits either. Some dominating stuff, and it wasn't like fluke things either. Roby stuff was nasty. It was nasty. I was unaware that the fastball that Tekoah Roby possesses was going to be hitting where it was. It was topping out at 98. He was throwing 98 yesterday in the second game of the spring. Mixed in some nice breaking balls, broke a few off there, both the curve and the slider. Had a devastating changeup that he was showing. It was rough if you were a pitcher or you were a hitter on Sunday taking on Tekoah Roby, man. That was impressive. And the thing with Roby was never that his stuff was bad per se, or that he didn't possess the stuff that people would find attractive for a pitcher. It was just being healthy. Healthy has been the biggest issue for Tekoah Roby, and he really looked healthy on Sunday. So I hope he continues to go down this path of feeling well and throwing well. Cardinals number 6 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline last year, but he only appeared in 10 games, going 2-3. The ERA 6.57. He allowed 10 home runs in those 10 games. He struck out only 39 and 38 in a third innings. And so when you just see that stat line, you're like, not all that impressive, right? And he's not a huge guy either. Roby stands, I think, at like 6'1", so it's not like he's this big menacing guy on the mound. But man, did he look good on Sunday. Last year, shoulder injury is what sidelined him for a lot of the year. So hopefully he can remain healthy this year and continue to be what he was on Sunday. Because if that was a sign of what his ceiling is going to be, man, that trade that also, like I said, brought over King, brought over CJC, could turn into quite a blockbuster for the Cardinals. Pretty big win there. Although, the Rangers got a World Series out of it, so I don't think anybody's complaining. Another positive, and it's normal that pitchers are ahead of hitters at this point in camp. You're going to hear people say that over and over, and it's true. But for the most part, the Cardinals pitchers, at least the ones that, are more likely to be on the opening day roster, they have found some pretty good success over the first 2 games. You had Saturday starter Eric Fetty. He allowed 2 hits. One was basically a swinging bunt, and the other one actually hit the runner, and they give him a hit on that. So it's not like the Marlins were stinging the ball against him or anything. After Fetty, it was Matthew Liberatore's turn, and he tossed 2 no-hit innings, struck out 1. Ryan Fernandez, Chris Roycroft, Riley O'Brien, names that you're familiar with. You've seen them in a Cardinal uniform already. They were up on the big club last year. They followed those guys with 3 no-hit innings as well. Riley O'Brien was a very interesting. Remember last year, Riley O'Brien was the talk of camp. Nasty stuff, right? And everybody was really excited about what he could do for the Cardinals bullpen last year. And, he strikes out Shohei Ohtani in that first game against the Dodgers, and then injured. And we hardly saw him the rest of the year. He had an interesting inning in his inning of work on Saturday. Had a throwing error on the first batter, walked his second guy, and we're like, oh boy, a little bit rusty, right? But he locks in and he strikes out the next 3 guys to end the inning. He was topping out at 99 with his sinker, 99-mile-an-hour sinker, just easy 99 too. He doesn't ever look like he's, ugh. You know how you get Sonny Gray out there, he's doing the grunting, and it looks like he's putting forth maximum effort, where it's just nice and easy for Riley O'Brien. 99 sinker, breaking pitches were solid as well. A lot of movement on those guys. So he looked pretty darn good. So we need him to stay healthy as well. That's very important. Then on Sunday, you got 2 shutout innings from Miles Michaelis. You had 2 innings from Roby, which we talked about already. Jojo Romero struggled with control early on in his appearance, but because he walked the first 2 guys, he allowed a single, but then he strikes out the next 3 guys to escape that jam in the inning. John King threw a clean inning of work. Ryan Lutos, who could be on the opening day roster, he's a guy we've seen in St. Louis already. He got in an inning and allowed 1 hit, but he struck out 2. So a lot of positive things to talk about when talking about the Cardinals in their first 2 games. 2 games that they lost. So it wasn't all sunshine and lollipops, because, the Cardinals are 0-2 heading into Monday's supposed game, because there's supposed to be a lot of rain in the forecast. So we're going to discuss some of the bad stuff that we saw next on Locked On Cardinals. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off, or you just want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay and really boost up that money. Now, FanDuel makes NBA games more fun to watch, period. If you're not a huge NBA guy, this is going to make the games even more entertaining for you. Whether you're watching St. Louis's own Jason Tatum with the Boston Celtics, LeBron and Luka in LA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, what a superstar he's blown up into with the Oklahoma City Thunder. You got the Joker, one of my favorite guys, Nikola Jokic in Denver. Fantasy basketball, I do it every year. So watching NBA games is important to me, but you add the the seasoning that FanDuel brings with it, and it just takes it to that next level. And the app is really easy to use. You're not going to get all confused on it. And when you win, you get paid instantly. So right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Now, I do want to remind everyone that we shouldn't get overly excited or overly depressed about things that happen in these spring training games just yet. Because, and you heard Brad Thompson talking about in the telecast yesterday, that a lot of the times these guys are going to come in and they're working on specific things, where they're like, we want you to work on, your cutter today, or your changeup, or whatever it may be. There are specific things that they are working on. So if things don't go so well, maybe you could attribute it to that. Other things, just being rusty, just getting on the mound for the first time and against real opponents. It's something you got to get used to first. Not everybody's just going to come out and look amazing. And as impressive as it was to see, J.J. Wetherholt, Tekoah Roby, and what others did on Sunday and Saturday already, it's smarter to stay grounded about it all. You're going to see people popping off on social media where, like, Wetherholt, he should be on the opening day roster already, or Roby should be starting over Steven Matz already. And okay, I know that you're excited, but let's pump the brakes a little bit. It's just the first appearance and first game, so let's calm down some. Same goes for the bad stuff, though, too. As excited as you might be for the good things that we've seen so far, when it comes to the bad stuff, if someone struggles and has a tough day at the yard, we shouldn't immediately dismiss them as being terrible or call them things like trash, which I've seen that word thrown around a lot, or demand that they get released, or that they are busts and they should be traded. And relax a little bit, all right? With that being said, we've got a couple of pretty bad outings from a couple of pitchers that happened in the first two games. We're going to start on Saturday, where after the first 5 pitchers threw 6 shutout innings, the trio of Bailey Horn, Rob Kaminsky, and Matt Swanson did not fare so well. Cardinals were up 6-0 at the time that Bailey Horn came in. This is another guy that they pulled from the Red Sox organization, and he had control issues right away. Again, I don't know exactly what he was working on, whether it was certain to pitch or what, but he ends up walking 3. He throws a wild pitch. He gives up a single. Kaminsky comes in. Kaminsky, former draft pick of the Cardinals. This is the 3rd stint that he's had with the organization. He comes in, gives up a double, throws a wild pitch, and all of a sudden we're looking at a 6-5 ball game. Swanson comes in the next inning, and he walks the first guy. You're noticing the problem here is that, it's control stuff. It's walks. It's putting guys on base. Then he gives up a single. Then it's a double. Then 2 more singles. And all of a sudden, we got a 7-6 game, and that's how it ended. Cardinals lose their first game of the spring. Now, the 3 pitchers combined to throw just 2 innings. They allow 7 runs on 6 hits. They walk 4. They strike out none. Swanson took the loss, but none of them had much success whatsoever. So, you're hoping for better things from those guys. But again, these are 3 names that are not likely going to be on your opening day roster. They're depth pieces at best. And, Swanson has had some success in the minors, but, these are guys that they're just getting in some work. These aren't the guys that you got to freak out about. Then on Sunday, it was poor Sim Robberse who took the punishment. And to say that Sim had a rough day, it's an understatement. It's an understatement. And the hardest part about it was that he had to go through it not once, but twice. So if you didn't watch, I'll explain it to you. In spring training, they've got that re-entry rule in effect, so that if a pitcher, hits his limit on pitches in an inning, okay, and they're like, all right, well, we don't want him throwing anymore. Let's get him off his feet, bring him back. And they allow the teams to remove a pitcher, and if they want to bring him back in, they can do that. And unfortunately, that is what happened to Robberse on Sunday. The Cardinals are up 2-0 at the time. And it just came on like a tidal wave, like just rushed him. He gets the first 2 hitters out. Like it was pretty quick, actually. He faced them. First, I forget what the first guy did, but the second guy tapped one back to him. 2 outs right away. Then there's a single, and then there's a home run. And that tied things up at 2 at the time. Then 4 straight singles makes it 4-2. And Sim was simply, what was wrong with him? I don't think there was anything wrong with him. He was missing over the plate. He was throwing it over the heart of the plate. You just can't do that. So after Dusty Blake makes a visit, things don't get much better. So Ali comes out and he pulls the right-hander, brings in Zach Weiss, who got the last out of the inning, and we move on with our lives, right? But it wasn't over for Robberse, who shockingly, despite having such a rough half inning, starts the next inning. They bring him back out. Had to continue to get his work in. There was a certain pitch count I think they wanted to get him to, and they're like, all right, well, we'll get you back out there and see what you can do. Cardinals had retaken the lead at the time after the J.J. Wetherholt opposite field home run, and sadly, it was just more of the same for Robberse. Leadoff single, another 2-run shot. Then it was another single. And then he makes a throwing error on a play that, honestly, he should have just got me out at first base, but that's what spring training is about. Had a tapper that went to his left. All his momentum is going towards first base, but he tries to make the hero play to second base. Ball sails into the outfield. Then he hits the next guy. Just beans him right in the back, right in the rib area. And Ali mercifully comes out and is like, all right, buddy, let's get you out of here. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It just a bad outing. And things didn't get any better for the Cardinals, really. Marmol brings in Andre Granillo, a guy that we've talked about on this show many, many times. Another guy who has found success in the back of the bullpen down in the minor leagues. And, maybe he has a role on this team this year, but he promptly walks the first guy he sees, brings in a run, gives up an RBI single. We're looking at an 8-5 Houston lead here. Then a fielder's choice makes it 9-5, then a couple of singles, plates 2 more, and then it's 11-5 before Granillo is finally yanked for Odaner Mosquito is how you pronounce it. Odaner Mosquito. He comes in, finishes things off, but tough day at the office for Sim Robberse. Final line, 2/3 of an inning. First 2 batters he faces, he gets out, and then nothing after that. 2/3 of an inning, 9 runs, 7 of them earned because of the 1 error. 9 hits, 2 of them home runs, no walks, no strikeouts. The ERA, 94.50. Bad day at the office, like I said, for a guy who the Cardinals have, well, I should say MLB Pipeline has as the Cardinals' 12th ranked prospect in 2024. So there'll be some fluctuating, I'm sure, when they announce their new ones, but it's not like this is some bum that people aren't excited about. Last year in Memphis, he was 5-4, ERA of 4.59. Definitely not an overpowering strikeout guy. That is not what he showed me. Some folks online were commenting that it was cool to see him, that he has added a sinker to his arsenal, which they think will help. But just any pitcher that doesn't have high velo or a wipeout breaking stuff, you got to hit your spots to get outs. Miles Michaelis is not an overpowering guy. He can throw 95. But it's all about location with guys like Michaelis and the guys like Sim Robberse. And you just can't live over the heart of the plate. And that's what was happening. Every ball was just hitting the meat, and the Astros were stinging it. And this was the Astros B squad. We didn't have the big boys here. It wasn't Christian Walker, and it wasn't Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve. This was the B squad that lit him up. And, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, again, jumping to a conclusion that Robberse is a bust and is not a good pitcher after 1 bad outing in spring training, very, very premature. So let's not go down that path and start calling him names and stuff. It's very silly, in my opinion. There will be better days for him. And, when stuff like this happens, you just try to learn from it, You take this disaster of an outing and pull it apart and see what were the good things and what are the things that we need to work on and what do we got to pay more attention to and try to do better the next time they call your number. So that's really all there is for Sim Robberse. So let's not destroy this kid already, okay? So we're going to talk about the offensive struggles because it wasn't just the pitching that has had some issues over the last couple of days. We'll get into that, plus the latest Nolan Arenado rumors. That's coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Today, for your second listen, you can find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on all the teams during spring training. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. So the offense, not going to get off the hook here either for the last two games because they've hardly been ripping the cover off the ball either. So and as I mentioned before, pitching is ahead of hitting at this point of camp. It happens every year, so no need to really freak out about it. But in the game on Saturday, the team, when you look at the box score, you're like, ooh, 6 runs. All right. And then you look next to it and you say, oh, 3 hits? Yeah. They walked 7 times. So I, give them credit that they, weren't up there swinging at balls out of the strike zone and making outs. They got walks. They were able to get a few guys in and they scored 6 runs, but 3 hits. It's pretty weak. Then on Sunday, you had the big game from Wetherholt, who drove in 3 with that home run. Victor Scott, our boy, had a 2-out 2-run single in the 4th inning, which was something we saw very little of last season for the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals, remember last year, and you might have some PTSD going on here, but remember when the Cardinals would come up with the bases loaded, and it was like a joke all season. We're like, oh boy, how are they going to figure out a way to not score any runs whatsoever, even though the bases are juiced? And it happened a lot. They were miserable with runners in scoring position. So to see Victor come through in a situation like that, pretty nice. RJ Yeager hit a solo home run in the 9th inning, which gave us an excuse to say Yeager bombs. Just a missile over the left field wall, exit velo at 102.2, but that was really it for the offense. There wasn't a whole lot going on. 6 runs on 9 hits. Wetherholt and Yeager accounted for 4 of those 9 hits. The bats have been a little quiet early on, but again, not freaking out, just observing, discussing, talking about what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing so far. So stay calm. Stay calm, everyone. Now, something that got fans worked up this weekend was the report that the Houston Astros had rekindled their interest in trading for Nolan Arenado after Alex Bregman signed with the Boston Red Sox. John Denton and others at MLB.com reported that multiple sources confirmed the Astros' renewed interest in him. But Derek Gould, who covers the team for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, STLtoday.com as well, a guy that I certainly trust with his reporting, he's one of the best, had this little tweet where he says, John Mozeliak says he does not feel like anything is imminent when it comes to trade talks for Nolan Arenado. I cannot comment or chase every rumor, adds the president of baseball operations. Nothing has changed since Arenado reported to camp. Now, does that mean that what John Denton and the group at MLB.com put together is false? No, not necessarily. Perhaps the Astros are interested again. Perhaps the Astros called Mo and was just like, hey, so we're still kind of curious, what's going on with Arenado. Is he still one out? Or is he enjoying his time at camp so far? Like, what's going on? Perhaps that's all it was. And whatever. Like it doesn't mean that all of a sudden there's going to be this big blockbuster trade and you're starting to see people talk about it more and more often. You're starting to see Astros fans and Yankees fans getting a little antsy because they're seeing what they've got, at the hot corner, and they're like, well, maybe this Arenado guy wasn't such a bad idea. And maybe other teams come calling as we get deeper into camp when they realize that, Arenado is someone that they could use, better than they thought. Maybe they're like, well, we thought this was going to work out. Maybe it's not. Maybe we ought to call the Cardinals again. So obviously they're going to keep in contact with people. That's going to happen. The Athletics' Katie Wu and Chandler Rome wrote that although the Astros re-engaged in brief trade discussions with the Cardinals regarding their third baseman, Nolan Arenado, multiple sources said that no deal is gaining traction, nor has Arenado's thought process changed for now about approving a trade to the Houston Astros. So it doesn't appear that anything's imminent. And personally, I'm exhausted talking about the whole situation. I was really hoping that it was over because I just want to get back to playing ball. The off the field stuff, you do it all off season. And when that's the one story for the Cardinals for most of the year, you just get tired of hearing about it and get tired of talking about it. And I'm right there with you. I understand that. That's why I didn't put it in the lead today because there's nothing to report really. It's people just talking. So big whoop. If something does go down, obviously we'll bring it up. But for now, doesn't appear like anything's going to happen. Things can change, I'm sure, but I'm not going to sit here and waste a ton of time talking about, hey, so-and-so called so-and-so. Cardinals are back in action today on Monday with the Mets in town at Roger Dean Stadium. Ton of rain in the forecast in Jupiter, so odds are that they probably will have to stop play at some point if they get it going at all. Steven Matz, which is a bummer because Steven Matz set to make his spring debut. The team also mapped out its starters for the week. Quinn Matthews set to start on Tuesday against Toronto. Michael McGreevy will take on the Yankees on Wednesday, and then Andre Palante will go on Thursday against the Marlins. Missing from the list, Sonny Gray, obviously, a name that's quite important for the Cardinals through 2 innings of live batting practice on Sunday on the backfields of the Cardinals spring training complex. And according to The Athletic, remains on track with his throwing program. So nothing to worry about there. This is the way it's going, and it's nothing to worry about. Everything seems to be fine. So that's good news as well. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. You got us on TikTok. You got us on Instagram. Of course, we're on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, and comment and help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.